Hello, I am Alicia Glenn, and I am going to present my research study to you all titled The Importance of Authenticity in Teacher and Student Relationships. Here we go. An introduction to my research, I like to start off with the quote by Brene Brown that states, "True belonging doesn't require you to change who you are, it requires you to be who you are." Authenticity means basically just to be true to yourself, right? That is multi-layered. There's a lot more elements to that to know yourself and to be true to yourself. Authenticity is something that's really important to me as a person and as a teacher, all different roles in my life. So putting that with the teacher-student relationships, I believe that it's key to fostering understanding and belonging. And in traditional classroom models, we often see that they focus more on the information delivery and not so much the teacher student relationships. So I am just diving into that teacher student relationship and how it can be affected by authenticity. My interest and background to this research stems from my personal experience as a student and teacher myself. I was very much, intrigued by teachers that were true to themselves growing up. And I really connected with certain teachers, and I really did not connect with other certain teachers. And I noticed that the teachers I did connect with were very authentic. They were really true to themselves, and it helped me to be motivated in class. So, one example of this was my art teacher, Mr. Hannell, in high school. He was someone that was very true to themselves, very genuine, was always honest with us. And I never saw him as an authoritative figure where I couldn't approach him. So, because of that, I was so motivated in his class. I wanted to do well. Not only did I want to impress him, but I wanted to try hard because I knew I could come to him for any questions or concerns that I might have had. And then, as a middle school art teacher myself, I am in year 5 of teaching, and I found that being authentic definitely increases student interest and engagement. So, there's a lot of students that come to my classroom that do not like art, but when I have the time with them to build a relationship with them, a genuine one and an authentic one, I found that a lot of students will want to try and will be motivated in my classroom. And because of that, I wanted to unpack this a little bit further and I wanted to see more evidence and support to connect to my research question. Okay, my main research question is this. In the middle school setting, does developing a more authentic understanding of teachers enhance students' motivation and academic performance in the classroom? And then below are other sub questions if you would like to read those as well. There is an array of articles out there that talk about the student and teacher relationships and the importance that is in their motivation. However, I found that these two articles were highlighting the authenticity aspect of teachers. So the first one I discovered is the effects of teachers' attitudes on students' personality and performance. Basically, in this study, there was 353 university students that talked about if attitudes reflected into their motivation. So there was a sample that included around 56 females and around 43 males, and they were asked to reflect on the attitudes of their teachers from primary school, middle school, high school, and their university. The findings found that 91.2% of students believed a teacher's positive attitude enhanced performance, while 75.4% said negative attitudes lowered performance, saying that it is very important for the attitudes of the teachers and how important it is on the student. And then in the second article here, the teacher student relationships as in interpersonal relationships. This talked more about the importance of communication, which is definitely linked to authenticity. And in study one, they had 93 respondents respond to how important communication skills are, including verbal and nonverbal skills, and how that was correlated to good teaching. And then study number 2 were 257 respondents were asked to think about the instructor they just had and if they use those communication skills that the article talked about. The results showed great correlation between the communication skills and the student's motivation with their instructor. So there was also evidence that male and female students perceived communication skills very differently, and females showed that they saw communication as a higher importance than males did overall. I also wanted to address this article that almost challenges authenticity and the importance it has on motivation. It's titled Should Teachers Be Authentic? It analyzes the concept of authenticity in teaching and questions how teachers can balance authenticity with effective teaching practices. Advocating for authenticity in teaching requires more precise definitions and a clear rationale for its value. Basically, saying that it's multifaceted, right? And a lot of times we get the definition skewed. So, in this article, it just talks about that there's other aspects to students being motivated other than just authenticity, which I appreciated. And then it also brought up the 4 components of authenticity from a other article, and those were genuineness, consistency, encouraging others, authenticity as well, and then living a critical life and reflecting. So these also bring to our attention what is linked to authenticity and how we as teachers can reach to be more authentic, as well as communicate well and have a good attitude. So there's a lot of layers there that go into students feeling comfortable and feeling motivated in your class, but one of them definitely being authentic. Okay, here's some philosophical framework that I included. The first one being ontological perspective. It's a belief in multiple perspectives and realities. Each individual experiences the same event but differently, shaped by their background, personality, and beliefs. So, knowing that everyone's going to share different experiences because of who they are, they're different. So, for example, a positive relationship with my high school art teacher shaped my career, but recognizing not everyone shares that same experience. The rhetorical perspective focuses on personal voice and narrative to make it more relatable and emotionally impactful. So I'll be doing this as well with sharing a little bit of my storytelling. And then lastly, the social constructivism focuses on understanding situations from others' point of view through open-ended questions and actively listening. And then learning is collaborative with students relying on others to help them create their knowledge. All right, my methodology is case studies, which include surveys and interviews mostly. So the student survey focuses on my 7th and 8th graders, which have a diverse background, and we explore different experiences of their homeroom teacher being authentic and how that plays a role in their life and academically. I interview teachers as well from different subjects and asking them how they present their authentic selves and how that impacts their student teacher relationships. And then lastly, I share a little bit of my personal reflection. Here is my student survey that I handed out. It's pretty wordy, so for the sake of time, I'm only going to focus on section 3 and 4 and the results that came from that. Here are the results from questions 10 through 14. I interviewed 20 students, 10 7th grade and 10 8th grade. As we take a look at just question number 10, we can see that 85% of students strongly agree that knowing more about their teacher's experience motivates them to engage more in the classroom. As we continue on, you can see that a lot of the graphs are highlighted in purple and in pink, meaning that they agree or strongly agree. There was a very few amount of students that said neutral, and only one student said that they disagreed with the question, which was number 14. Having a teacher who shares more personal experiences makes the subject more important to me. So only one student disagreed there. Overall, though, we can see that a lot of students were in more of the agreeance of the questions. Here are the results for the open-ended responses. Question number 15 said, how does your teacher's authenticity or openness affect your motivation in the classroom? One student said, she shares her thoughts and is funny and kind, and their authenticity helps me to learn and remember more. Another student said, I will try my best on any assignment if I like a teacher and they are true to themselves. Some students, like very few, said that no, authenticity doesn't motivate me. And then in question number 16, it says, what could your teacher do to improve your motivation or engagement in the classroom? A couple students said that they want more fun activities. Another student said that they want more small groups. One student said that the classroom management was an issue and that played a part in their lack of motivation. In conclusion, teachers' authenticity can build connections, but other factors like engaging lessons and effective classroom management can greatly influence student success and motivation beyond just the authenticity part. Here is the list of questions that I asked each teacher when I interviewed them. My interview with Mr. Fitzpatrick went really well. He talked about his definition of authenticity being connected to being honest and straightforward with the students. He talked about how, when something's funny, acknowledge it. When something's bad, acknowledge it. And just being true to the atmosphere. Bill also talked about the connection that he has with the students and how that has corresponded with his involvement inside and outside of school. So he's involved with many different clubs, and the students see that, they know that. So he gets to interact with them inside and outside of school. So we talked about, personal boundaries and how to manage that. And he said just being true to himself and also just knowing when to open up about things and when not is really good to decipher and figure out as a teacher. This is my interview with Mrs. Khan. She is the Spanish/world language teacher at my school. She talked a lot about the balance between authenticity and professionalism, what to share, what not to share, what's appropriate, what's not. She also talked about student reactions and engagement and having patience with them. Growing relationships can take time, and she talked all about that. Teacher-student connection and motivation. She talked about how some students desire not to disappoint the teacher, and that fosters motivation, which I can connect to. When I was with my art teacher, I didn't want to disappoint him, so I tried really hard because of that. She also talked about how humor is a big tool for authenticity. I loved how she talked about this, how she said that just the power of laughing and just setting a positive atmosphere. It's simple, but it goes a really long way, and it makes students feel safe in her classroom. Some closing thoughts. I'm not going to read all of these, but the biggest one that connected both interviews is that both teachers, Mr. Fitzpatrick and Mrs. Khan, agreed that authenticity was super important and crucial for their teaching experience. They also believed that transparency was really important and also humor to make their classrooms lighthearted. Just some closing thoughts for my research project is this. Authenticity can be seen as simple or just overlooked in general, but it's so much more than that. It's very important, and we as teachers need to try to be our most authentic self, being genuine and honest and reflective, so that the students can feel motivated, can feel comfortable to approach us. So I'm going to continue as a teacher to do all these things, knowing that it's not going to only motivate them in the classroom, but to help them to be better people overall.